Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Board Games and Coffee. This week, I asked my subscribers, what aspects of reviewing board games on YouTube are you most curious about? Of the four options I gave, the one that most people were excited about was balancing honesty with maintaining relationships with publishers. So, in this video, I'm going to be centered on that theme. But before I talk about how I try to balance honesty with board game publishers, I want to give a little bit of background about who I am, why I started this channel, what motivates me, and with that information, I'll talk about how I try to do reviews. I'm also going to do things a little differently. Normally what I do is I go through my notes at the beginning and then I take questions at the end. But today I'm going to open up for questions as I go along. So if you've got something, be sure to drop it in the comments and I'll try to address it. So first I want to talk a little bit about who I am. Sometimes I only mention this in passing, but I was originally, my name is Ben Knuckles. I was born in Oregon and I moved to New York in 2007 where I got my master's in education, in math education, and I became a high school teacher. And I taught in high school for 10 years, and then I got married along the way, and we had our first child in 2014, and at that time also my wife decided to become a Navy dentist. So knowing very well that that would mean I would be moving around the world, I didn't want to keep applying for different jobs. I didn't want to keep teaching and working at many different schools. So I decided that I needed to figure some things out in order to branch out. I kind of doubled down on what I already knew about computer science, went into software development. We moved out of New York City in 2018, and I started doing some of my own work as a software developer. And to make a long story short, along the way, I decided that I needed something that would give me greater flexibility as a father. I had 2 kids at that time, and I also wanted to do something that I was really passionate about. Also, at this time, I homeschool my kids. So as my wife's job becomes more and more involved, I enjoy being available to be there for the kids, to teach the kids, and I want something I can share with them. So I got into YouTube, which kind of is the embodiment of many of the things that I enjoy. I really enjoy board games, and I really enjoy teaching. And in fact, not only do I enjoy board games, but I specifically enjoy learning new board games. I love learning new board games. And so starting a YouTube channel to review board games was an outlet for me that was creative, that had the potential of growing something that was my own, and it also kind of encouraged me to continue learning more and more board games. That's what I really enjoy. And I enjoy teaching board games. So this is something that's very exciting for me. But the other thing that's very interesting about my position is that my wife's job and her benefits are sufficient for our family. I don't need to have a job to bring in the income. So it puts me in sort of a privileged position. I don't have to pressure my viewers to join Patreon, or I don't have to ask for sponsored board game publishers to pay for Kickstarter previews or any of this stuff. And in fact, that's one of the things about YouTube that kind of aggravates me. Like, I've seen some excellent people on YouTube making wonderful content, but every time it kind of gets to the like, be sure to like and subscribe, or the commercial in the middle of so many YouTube videos which asks viewers to join Patreon. I understand it. I definitely get it, and I'm thankful that I don't have to make a living doing this. But I really didn't want to make a channel where I was doing it all the time. Or if I did it at all, I wanted to do it very little, maybe at the end. Because there are some great advantages to having a Patreon community. And there are some advantages to working with publishers and doing sponsored content. Like, there are other reasons besides financial ones to do these things, but I kind of wanted to start a channel that was more focused on what I was interested in so that I wouldn't feel any obligation. So that's where I am today. Initially, now, I had my own collection of board games, and of course I bought them all, and I was trying to keep ahead. I had a theory that if I bought the newest board games and I reviewed them, then I would get more views because I'd be doing the current content, and then people would come in and subscribe. Now, I guess I should pause there and say, well, why does anybody, if I have a channel and I'm not asking for likes and subscribers, and why would I care if I had more views? Why would I care? Why not do it for no view, like 10 views? Why is that not enough? Why would I want more views? Because I had one goal. This is my one goal. I wanted to do it for free. I wanted to break even. If I could get to the point where publishers could send me board games, then I was really making it. So yeah, I didn't ask for money, but I wanted to grow the channel. So I started buying board games for the longest time, thinking that it was going to pay dividends if I attracted people by reviewing the newest games. That is an impossible endeavor. If you are watching this video because you want to be a YouTube board game reviewer, it is impossible to buy enough games, new games, to build your audience, because you're reviewing the latest stuff. There's way too much, and two, established channels have a connection with publishers where they're getting review games before they're released. So you'll never be able to produce reviews and keep up with the ones that are already established. Of course, I had to figure this out the hard way. And to be honest, I kind of enjoyed it because it was an excuse to buy new games. But there were other things that I wanted to figure out. So I mentioned that I had the the software development experience, and of course I developed the perfectboardgame.com website, and I wanted to kind of get people in on that as well, because I had a theory. That was, when I looked at the list of games on Board Game Geek, I didn't like how the games were rated. I thought there were too many games on the list that didn't belong there. Specifically, earlier on, I was really irritated by Gloomhaven because I didn't think that Gloomhaven embodied what the hobby was about. Because to me, the hobby was always Euro games. I always was a big fan of Euro games, and I was like, oh, this Gloomhaven with its campaign and its miniatures and all its cool storytelling stuff, it's not that great. And it's pretty great, but it was popular for a very long time. And I thought, you know what I want? I want a website where I can just find the board games that I like, because I can find lists that match me, that fit my liking. That's what I wanted. So I thought that's what I tried to make. I tried to make the perfectboardgame.com where games would be organized according to the criteria that were important to people, rather than because of ratings. And with time, I think that's going to become a really valuable tool. It doesn't have the user base that I think it needs to be competitive with a site like Board Game Geek, but there is a niche of people that are really into it, and I'm very thankful for those people, by the way. Thank you. Okay, so that's kind of my background. How do I balance honesty with honoring board game publishers? So look, this hobby is still very, very niche. There aren't nearly as many people on the internet that are researching board games and watching reviews as there are looking at the newest tech product. Maybe I could have reviewed tech products, but I'm reviewing board games, and it's a competitive marketplace, and everyone who's doing it is doing it as a passion project. Some people try to do it in a way to make a living, but everyone who's doing it is doing it because they love it. It's not something you get into to make a lot of money, and they work very, very hard. I've talked to some of these people. In order to stay afloat when you've got so many games out there, these conventions, they go everywhere. They work so much in order to make their companies, perform well. And man, I really want to support the whole industry. Like, anybody who's making a game, I want to support you. You are making something wonderful for us, the hobbyists. So I want to do a service for them. Not because I want to, owe them, but because I appreciate them. So honoring publishers is a really big deal to me. But, you know what else I really like? I love just ranting on and on about things that I don't like. I love it. I have so much fun describing something in a bad way. I also have fun ranting about something that I love, but I can really go to town destroying something with my very, very strong opinions. And so that is something that that's hard to do on the internet. The internet is full of negative opinions, and it's full of people being mean. I kind of think that, roasting something, in a comedic way, is hilarious. I think it's kind of fun to think of, a witty insult or kind of trot on something. It can be entertaining, but I don't think it always is picked up by everyone. I don't think everyone appreciates negativity. Some people probably think that's the toxicity of the internet. So I try to rein it in a little bit. Sort of want to keep those opinions closer to my chest. And I don't think that, even though I like doing that it would help me honor board game publishers. So sometimes I do rant. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you've probably seen a few videos where I really go off on something. I try to do it in a fair way. But most of the time, what I try to do is stick to a policy of how I'm going to review things. So let me talk about the policy. Let me take another sip here. So, first of all, I only want to review board games that I want to play. And you might think, well, why would I? What games do I not want to play, right? I only want to review board games that I want to play. So these are the things that I want to play. Everything else I don't want to play. I love playing enriching games for families. What is enriching? I don't want to play Candyland. I don't want to play something that I have to dumb myself down to engage my kids. I want to elevate my kids to the board games that I enjoy. So I want to play enriching games for family. Now, most of the time, party games are extremely accessible. Dixit or something. But party games aren't, they don't have as much value to me as Euro board games do. Now, some do. Some I think are absolutely brilliant. Lately, I've been going off on, or I've mentioned Decrypto so many times because I keep playing it. Recently in my circle of friends. Some party games are great. They're strategic. But I don't play party games. I don't play games with my family that are heavily based on luck. And I don't play games that have rule sets that are for very, very young children. So there's that. Then Euro board games. I personally, if I could only play games that were satisfying to me and me alone, which is not why I do the hobby, by the way. You know what I love about the hobby? I love teaching games to people, and I love matching board games to the right person. I have like over 250 here in my house, and when my mom came, I played all these games with her, and then my friend came, the one who was on the show last week, and the games that I pulled out for him were completely different than the ones I pulled out for my mom. I like learning people's tastes, and I like matching games to their liking, hence the website that I made, right? So that's why I do this, but if I lived in a world where the only person who needed to be satisfied was me, then I would want to play heavy Euro board games all the time. I'd want to spend 2 to 3 hours on very difficult games with lots of rules. I love that. I love that. And I have some. I don't have enough friends who want to play games like that. But I will take that on any day. And then I like the intro level kind of intro medium light games. Those are fun too. So I try to collect games like that because those are the games I'm going to play, and those are the games that are going to fit in my circle. Because listen, if I have games that are recommended for people who like the take that mechanic, right, the backstabbing kinds of games, I don't like that, and I don't have friends that want to play that. So even though I recognize that there are families that would enjoy that, I turn that away. That's not for my circle. If I can't play the family game with my kids, if a board game is going to make my daughters cry, I'm going to decline it. Okay, so I try to play games that I like. Next, I'm very hesitant to review Kickstarter games. I'm hesitant to review Kickstarter games because my fear is that they might not be funded, one, and there's the culture of Kickstarter, the fear of missing out. I know why it's done, but I don't like it. I almost don't want to support it. I do buy Kickstarters, by the way. I get them. I have one that I did recently, Ava's Dream, which is from Alley Cat Games. So to say that I don't like Kickstarter would be inaccurate, but I just want to review games that people can go out and buy right now. I want to review a game that you're like, oh, that's a cool game, and I want you to order it and have it come in the mail next week. I don't like this, wait for a year. I don't like that. So I usually don't do Kickstarters, and I used to, but now I don't do any Kickstarters if it's a publisher's first time doing a Kickstarter, because I've learned, I've reviewed a few games that were Kickstarters that didn't even get funded, and that is annoying. I get all my subscribers excited about a game, and it doesn't even get funded. They can never see it, so that's not cool. So I try to use discretion when I do Kickstarters. So I only play games or accept games that I want to play. I don't do Kickstarters. What else? All right. And then there's my angle, right? So when I review a board game, I try to do it through the lens of the Perfect Board Game formula, which I'm not going to spend any time on in this video talking about. It's the 5 attributes. I talk about it all the time. There's a link in the description. But I use the 5 attributes to try to put an objective spin on it. And I try to give an opinion that both expresses how I feel about the game and how I think other people would feel about the game, or why they might not like it, or whose circle it isn't for. So, for example, Bazaars of Ubar is one that I recently reviewed. And the way that I expressed my opinion about Bazaars of Ubar is I said, this is a puzzly game with a lot of moving parts that I really enjoy. It's like a puzzle within a puzzle. I like this game, but you know what? I was the only one at my table who liked this game. Most people are going to think it's too finicky, it's too puzzly, it's probably not for them. If you like puzzles, if you like lots of things to work out, you're gonna love this game. But it's a game for fewer people, I gotta say. And that's how I said it. And I think that honors the publisher. I'm really condensing my opinion. Context helps a lot. I suppose I'll put a link to that review as well in the description. But yeah, so I do my overview. Actually, you know what? Let's look at the second poll. Let me show you the other poll I asked this week. It was, which type of review is most engaging for you, assuming the reviewer is entirely sincere? Now, most people said a balanced review that weighs both the pros and the cons. Now, I think that the key word may have been missed in this poll. I did not ask how should a review be. I asked which type of review is most engaging for you. In other words, when you are watching a review, what kind of thing keeps you watching? See, I suspect that more people actually really enjoy watching an overwhelmingly positive review or a negative review because it's cool when people get fired up. It's engaging when people get fired up. But this is definitely what I tried to pursue. Now, the thing that I learned from this particular poll is that a non-opinionated, objective tutorial or rules overview is not what's favorable. Which is funny, because honestly, I think that's what I most often do. I like to watch the how to play video, and then I make my opinion from the how to play video. Or, other times, I'll just read a PDF of the rules, and I will make my entire assessment of the game based on the PDF. Because again, I think this is part of like my identity as a board game hobbyist. I love learning games. Don't tell me what you think of it. I want to learn it, and I will assess it once I learn the game. I love doing that. Anyway, so I try to weigh the pros and the cons. I'm hoping I'm doing a good time doing it. Now, going into questions. What about my better than series? So I have a series of videos, 5 games that are better than X. 5 games that are better than Wingspan, better than Everdell, better than Ticket to Ride, better than Dominion. What else have I done? At least those. So am I disrespecting the publisher when I make those? Okay. So here's the thing. Way back when I was a young little reviewer, I was trying to think of how to get attention and stand out from the crowd. Now, what I like about board games is, or rather the ones that I buy, is I like buying games that none of my friends have. I'm sort of obsessed with it. Every time I find a game that I really love that my friend has, I say in my head, there's no reason to buy this. My friend has this, and I played with my friend. If I want to play it again, I will play with my friend again. Brass Birmingham. Awesome, awesome game. I would love to own this game. I don't need to. Michael taught me the game. I played it with him twice. If I want to play it again, I'm going to play with my friend Michael. That makes so much sense to me. You know what I want to find? I want to find the games that someone like named Michael is, or, you know, whoever my friend is, they've never heard of before. I want to be able to walk in the room and say, hey, you remember Brass and how cool that was? Well, have you heard of blah? Let's play this. You know, like, I like showing something that no one's ever heard before. And I like owning games that no one's heard of before, so that when those people want to play the game, they have to play with me. I think that's awesome. So the reason I do the Better Than series is because I wanted to show people what they could play instead of what was the first? I think Everdell was the first one I did in this series. I wanted to show people what they could play instead of Everdell because everyone already owned Everdell. Everdell was such a popular game already. Now the nice thing is, because Everdell is so popular, the publisher is not hurting because I did this video. And if you watch the video, despite what the title is called, I think you will see that the spirit of the video is to not to make fun of Everdell in any way, but really to say, hey, listen, Everdell's great, but here's some things you could play instead, and especially some things that you may not have heard of before. So that's why I do that. I don't think it upsets the publishers very much. The only other thing that kind of people really hate is they don't like how I review theme. I give low theme scores, and people will say, well, you know, why? And I understand. When I rate theme, I'm not saying that a game doesn't have a cool theme. I'm talking about how theme impacts gameplay. But I've talked about that before. So I get a lot of reactions. The biggest reactions on my channel in a negative light are either people who don't like that I've compared something to a great game. They don't like that I've said these games are better than Everdell. Boy, do I get attacked by that. Or they don't like that I say that Root has a theme score that's like, what did I say, 3 out of 10 or something. Wow, how can it be 3 out of 10? Well, because Root, it's not about animals. There's nothing animal focused about Root. It's just an area control game. It could be anything. It's just soldiers. Whatever. It's not a thematic game. Even the power, whatever. It's bigger focus on mechanics, is what I'm trying to say. Like a Euro game. All right, well, at this time, I'm going to look at my questions. And I think I will answer one question that came up from the poll as well. So, how do I select and obtain review copies from publishers? So I didn't actually address that. I talked about which ones I select, games that I play, games that are Kickstarters, games that have mechanics that I'll play with my friends. But in the beginning, I used to write publishers, and some don't respond. I've had a few publishers that just don't respond. Usually it's the really big publishers. Small publishers almost always respond, and they almost always say yes, assuming I write them an email that says, hey, this is who I am, here's a link to my YouTube channel, I've reviewed games like the ones that you have. I think that this particular game is going to be popular with my audience for this reason. I'm very specific about that. I want them to see what I have to offer them, and I say, will you give me a review copy? And almost always, if they respond at all, they respond yes. But now, I'm at the point where publishers write me, and that's why I have to say no, because a lot of them have games that I don't want to play. Occasionally, man, I've been introduced to some incredible games simply because a publisher has written me first. I don't think I ever would have discovered an Age Contrived if the designer didn't reach out to me, which I love. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about sources of revenue. So there are a lot of ways to monetize a YouTube channel. I have opened up many, and I mean, look, it's not a lot of money because I've already made it pretty clear it's not really the biggest thing behind my channel. So one, there's ad revenue from YouTube. On an average month, I make about $70 in ad revenue. Maybe a little bit higher because some months can be huge. Like I made $200 last month because the Boop short went almost like, I don't know if is it qualified as viral if I get over 1 million views? That game has 1.1 million views. It has more views than my other videos by more than a factor of 10. Incredible. So I made like $200 last month from ad revenue on YouTube. Ad revenue has affiliate purchasing, so I do that on my shorts videos, and that makes me about $15 a month. And then on Amazon affiliates, which is what I do, my primary source of ad revenue for the perfectboardgame.com, that is about less than $20 a month. And then there's a little bit of merchandise. I'm actually working on a piece of merchandise right now. This is my cup, the green player. It's got all these, wow, let's see if I can, all these board game pieces on it. Anyway, this one isn't quite for sale yet. I want to make the blue player, the red player, the green player. I have a t-shirt. Those are all found on another e-shopping site. I'll put a link in the description. So these are all ways to make revenue, but altogether I make a little over $100 each month, and I don't pay for board games anymore. I mostly get them for free. So if you consider that I'm no longer spending $100 a month on board games, it's a little bit more than $200. So not enough to make a living, but it's definitely enough to be super excited because I get to do the thing that I love for free, and I love that. And I get to spend time with my kids. That's the other thing. The reason I do the family board games angle is because I really want to spend more time with my kids, and it all pays off. My kids even help me. sometimes, and I pay them. I pay my kids to play a new board game with me so that I can make a review about it. Occasionally. Most of the time they have to do website work. Anyway. So, that is all about me and how I'm running the channel. If you have any other questions, you can throw them down there. Yeah, it's already half an hour, all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining me, and thank you sincerely for your support over the years.